Hey, Geekscapists, welcome to a brand new Geekscape episode. I'm Jonathan London, your host. If this is your first Geekscape, strap yourselves in for some pop culture talk. We usually talk movies, video games, comic books, TV, pop culture. If you guys are going to WonderCon here in Southern California in a few weeks, I think we got 2 weeks on this WonderCon thing. It's the last weekend in March. If that's of interest to you, the whole Comic-Con thing, you're in the right place. All right. If you like the music that was playing on the MP3 version, podcast version of this show as we introed, maybe you didn't hear it because you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, or LinkedIn. It's a busy job market out there. Maybe you're on LinkedIn passing out those resumes. It's kind of weird that we're streaming to LinkedIn, but it happens. You want to listen to the podcast version because you just heard a little bit of Amber Pacific's music, their new song off their album All In. This song is called Sink or Swim. And I got to tell you, when I first heard the song, I was like, okay, this sounds like classic Amber Pacific, but these are my friends. I have not gotten new music from them in 11 years. There's a new album coming up. Is this working for me? And then I threw it on my headphones when I went running, and it kicked. The whole album just kicked. I felt like I was flying. So it works. If you guys listen to your music in your car, if you listen to it running, if you listen to it ignoring your work, whatever you guys listen to your music, and you know when you listen to music and it clicks in, it's not just background music, but it clicks in and you're hearing the words and you're vibing with it. That's what I felt. And we're going to be talking about their brand new album All In with Matt Young, Will Nutter. They're the vocalists on this, and they're talking about their first album in 11 years. I met these boys almost 20 years ago recording their second album. Now we got album number 5. And I think all you guys should pick it up. So we're going to talk about it on a brand new Geekscape. We're talking music. Real quick, I want to say thank you to everyone who made our Kickstarter for Hear the Prophecy successful. We went out for 5,000. You guys got us 8,000. It was enough to cover the investment in the book and all the rewards and the reward fulfillment, which is how I'm going to be spending my weekends for the next 3 months. Getting you guys your rewards and your comic books. And the feedback for those of you who read the comic is just awesome. I'm halfway through issue number 2. It means a lot that you guys weren't reading my comic because it was Miami Vice or something else. It means a lot to me that you guys weren't reading the comic for another reason than it was my brother and I telling a love story about brotherhood and each other and setting in an 80s fantasy world. Because it's fun and silly, and a lot of the feedback I've gotten so far from those of you who've gotten digital copies really means a lot to me. If you did order a digital copy, that's getting a big hit send this weekend. So you're getting the PDF this weekend, and I think some of the digital rewards over the next week. And then I gotta start hitting the mailbox and start sending you guys your comics. And I also need my brother to sit down and sign some stuff. He needs to sign about 200 copies of this comic and mail them to you guys. So a lot of work between now and when we're on a panel at WonderCon. Spoiler, we're on a panel at WonderCon talking about comic books and wrestling and all that. So if you're down in WonderCon, I think it's March 28th, 29th, 30th, come to our panel. It's on March 29th, Saturday. I think it's 6 p.m. And then we can go get dinner afterwards or something like that. But I'm spoiling things. There's lots to talk about on Geekscape coming up. So subscribe if you haven't yet. We've got the brand new Daredevil Born Again show. There's lots of stuff, fun pop culture to talk about. There's comics to talk about, all that. But this episode right here, we're talking music. And we're talking a kick-ass album from my friends at Amber Pacific. Their first in 11 years. I'm all in on it. The album is called All In. And I want you guys to be all in. So sit tight. Here's the theme song. We'll come back with Amber Pacific, and it's going to be awesome. All right, Geekscapists, let's talk about this brand new album from our boys in Amber Pacific. I mean, you're like, hold up, our boys? Maybe they're not. They're not my boys. So they will be by the end of this conversation because I think they're really cool and I love their music, and I have for 20 years at this point. And their brand new album All In is out now. It feels so good for these boys to reform, and I can't wait to talk to Will and Matt. And let's bring them in. Here's Matt and here's Will. Hello, boys.
What's up, everyone?
Hey, Jonathan. Hey, everybody in Geekscape world.
Guys, I love having musical guests. It reminds me of doing college radio back in the day. And of course, the closest I get to working with musicians is shooting some videos and making stuff like that. And I've shot a few videos the last few years, but it's less. No, nobody's doing videos as much as they used to. And I think to myself sometimes, like, that was a great era. We had some great music. Is it behind us? And then my friends decide to get back together and put together a brand new album after 11 years. I got to think that this was a bit more of a Herculean task than the last time you guys got together to record an album. I know that the fourth album was Matt coming back into the band after the third album that doesn't have Matt's participation. That might have been a bit of a reintroduction and a refamiliarization and all that. We'll talk about that. But then 11 years go by, guys. That's the biggest gap. Y'all have changed as humans. Y'all have changed as musicians. Like, how do you even get from the training wheels to shaking off the rust to refamiliarizing yourselves with each other? Like, why do it? Not that I'm not grateful you guys did it, but that's daunting, wasn't it?
Matt?
Well, I mean, that's what's interesting is I'd be curious to hear Will's perspective, because when you have 11 years to write music, that's a little bit easier than when we did Truth and Sincerity. And, there was about a 2-year gap between The Possibility and The Promise, our first full length, and Truth and Sincerity, our second. And while 2 years may sound like a lot of time to write another record, it ended up really being about 2 months because we were busy touring off of the first record. And so I know Will felt pressure in terms of recording Truth and Sincerity, because at that time we're a signed band. This is our livelihood. We need to put out another record. And so there might have been elements of it where the 11 years made it a little bit easier. And I think, Will, you could probably speak more to that in terms of writing the music anyway.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, as I'm thinking about it, you mentioned daunting, and I could not disagree more. Like, it actually was maybe one of the
That's
easiest...
great. Just don't wait another 11 years to make it easy, pal.
I think it was one of the easiest records in terms of writing as any of the ones that we've done up to this point. I mean, and it's funny because you would think over 11 years I would rack up ideas and ideas and ideas. All the songs on this album are actually brand new ideas. I didn't really pull anything from the last 11 years. So I don't know what drove that. I think, it always takes like a song or two to kind of get a feel for which direction you want a record to go. And I think once you get those locked in, you kind of start getting an idea of what you want the rest of the album to sound like. And nothing that I've really worked on in the past 11 years kind of really fit that mold, I think. So I kind of just cleaned the slate and started new, and lots of encouragement from the guys in the band to keep writing and keep showing them stuff. And that's really what drove us to have the most songs we've ever had going into a studio ever in our entire career. We had almost 24 songs that we had to filter through to get it down to 12. So,
we want those songs, right?
I do know.
We want those
songs out too.
There are some songs that I want on there that didn't quite make the cut. They weren't quite ready for various reasons. And,
sure,
everyone in the band had some that didn't make it that we all liked, which is good. I think that's a good thing because it gives you a good mix.
And how great did it feel like after that last Blink-182 album with the San Diego and this and that, and when suddenly you found out there was like a second full album coming out like less than a year later of more music, not to put pressure on that's what you guys do, this and that stuff costs money to put together and master and really make it right and sweet and all that stuff. Yes. But it feels good to hear that you guys still have this drive and this stuff, because honestly, guys, after album number 4, I was like, love those guys. I think we're all going into like middle age now, and are we moving past this phase where pop punk and rock and this stuff is working? Like, you don't see that stuff so much anymore. I mean, they're not playing a lot of it at the Grammys. It's not a lot of the halftime show anymore.
Yeah.
Are we the past? I went to see the Queers like 2 weeks ago with DI and my buddies in a band called the Weirdos that opened, like one of the oldest punk bands in LA. I thought it was an AARP meeting. Like, I was the youngest person in that, and I'm in my mid 40s, and I'm sitting here listening to these guys doing bubblegum pop punk in the Queers, and I was like, I love these bands, but
it's weird, right?
past. How did you guys feel about that? Because I was like, I may not get another Amber Pacific one like album. It's all good, and then you guys drop this, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I don't think that ever crossed our minds in terms of like, are we past it or not? I think it all felt right and the timing of it felt right. And because of the resurgence that we've seen in the genre and the music, some of these bands that we haven't heard from in a long time, they're starting to put things out again and getting back out on the road and playing shows, like kind of motivated us a little bit to like get back into the game and take advantage of people still having an interest in what we do and the music that's out there right now. And it's a cool movement to be a part of. Granted, Matt could probably answer this too, like we as a band, we haven't felt super included in that movement, and it's no different than when we were starting out. Like, we've always had to fight and struggle, and we never really got the big break that some other people got. It was always like headline tour, headline tour, headline tour, work tour, headline tour,
Yeah.
headline tour. It was that cycle because we just couldn't get anyone to take us out on the damn road until the Hawthorne Heights came along, and Sum 41 and Yellow Card, a couple shows there. So there's a couple bands that threw us a bone. MXPX is another one over the years that has kind of kept us relevant and in the spotlight, so to speak. But outside of that, man, it's been really tough. So we did it the same reason why we always do it, which is because we love making music. We love the message that we have, the platform that we have to get it out to people. And there's enough people on our Facebook pages and stuff like that that still care and still want music. That's kind of what drove us to get back in and do it.
It makes me so happy. And honestly, like when I hear you guys coming back, when I see that you guys have a new album, I'm checking the bands on the When We Were Young in Vegas stuff. I'm checking. It was Kevin Lineman gonna like announce that you guys are playing Long Beach for the other date here on Warped Tour, because you guys were a perennial Warped Tour band. Am I gonna start seeing you guys included on that stuff? And it's disheartening. And it's disheartening when you guys aren't. But then there's also that attitude that you guys developed early on that you just talked about, where it's like you roll up your sleeves, you pull a Thanos, and you said, I'm going to do it myself. Right. And
essentially, yeah.
You guys have so many friends now who've also put together bands. And I know gas prices, this and that, touring's not what it was. But piecing together something where you guys are co-headlining, where you guys have another, I feel this a lot with my close friends in Punchline, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love those guys. Haven't seen them in California in a long time because of the touring, because of this and that. It's just hard to get across the United States economically as a band. But what stops us from like putting this together, having some bands string it together, so we have Amber Pacific size bands, Punchline size bands, Hawthorne Heights size bands, and starting to put a little something back together and stitching back together club dates to do a little bit of a tour. I know economically you guys are at home. It makes you guys make money. You guys have lives. I was talking to Perry Grip, Nerf Herder, and I was like, you guys have more music coming. You guys, what keeps you in Perry Grip said, honestly, Linus and I would do it, but it's hard because the rest of the band is making money in their day jobs, and this is it's not economically, it's hard. I think you guys are singing about that stuff too on your album. I would have been really weirded out. I would have been really weirded out if I started listening to this album, which sounds musically like Amber Pacific, and I love that. I'm glad that didn't change. And you guys started being like see you at the locker. Hope you still have a crush on me. I got you some candy hearts. And like, I would have been weirded the heck out if you guys have been singing like that. But you guys aren't singing like that. You guys are talking about things like regret. You guys are talking about the passage of time. You guys are talking about this is what we promised to each other that didn't come true. There's some lyrics in here where I'm like, oh, I feel that.
Yeah.
Where did that stuff come from? And was that a conscious maturation or an unconscious? Like you said, Will, like this was easy to write. It just happened naturally. Where were the parts where you guys started talking about like the themes of the album and mirroring where you guys are as humans?
Yeah. I don't, Matt, what's your take on that?
Well, I know I sang it from a place of a much different perspective, whereas like a song like Afloat, if that would have came out at the time I was in my late teens, early 20s, that song could be about me, about my friends. Whereas now I'm at the point I went into the studio and I sang that song for my daughter, like who is, you know, in a very preteen state where it's amazing the challenges that girls have to go through on a daily basis, where the relationships, even with their best friends, seems to be very fluid and dynamic and changing. And let alone the fact that we start bringing in, you know, the relationship with boys and how they're perceived like that. So a song like Afloat provides that new perspective. And, you know, I definitely sing some of those songs from exactly like what you were talking about, Jonathan, like this idea of, man, we had something great, kind of like, where did it go? Can we get one last ride? Can we sing one more song on a Warped Tour stage? You know what I mean? And that's very real. And that was part of what helped get us into the studio as well, was seeing these When We Were Young fests. And it's like, played with them, know them. And then Warped Tour started coming about and rumors were swirling around in the summer. We're like, oh, can we get on that? And so there's that nostalgia even for us as performers and as musicians, where we would love nothing more than an opportunity to just pretend like we're 21 again and look out in the crowd and see the exact same thing from the people who are in the crowd going, we may not be 21 anymore, but for tonight, we're going to act like we're not parents and we're not going to, you know, we're going to pretend like maybe we are breaking curfew or whatever it may be. And we're going to enjoy the time that we have singing songs from 20 years ago and now some songs from 20 days ago.
How was it this past weekend when you guys played Tacoma? Like the crowd and all this, like you guys were headlining, you weren't doing a Hawthorne Heights date, you guys weren't playing one of your 17 dates in Central Texas. I'm really taking that personally, by the way. Being from Central Texas, the fact that you guys haven't been to LA, but you've been to Central Texas like 18 times or so with Mess, like, thanks guys. You guys are Central Texas band now.
We gave Texas enough. They are good on Amber Pacific for a while, but
bring some love to Southern California. But how did that feel this past weekend? Like, what was different? What was the same?
This show was, it's always daunting when you're the name that's headlining the show. Are people going to come? Are people not going to come? Do people remember who we are in our own hometown? You know, are we going to be able to draw anybody? Like, these are all the things that run through my mind before we play, and you just don't know. You hear some numbers leading up to it. It's kind of a rough idea, but like they weren't great leading up to it. So I didn't know what to expect. We got to the venue. It's a newer venue that's been renovated in the Tacoma area. It'd been a long time since we played Tacoma. And the venue is outstanding. The people there are amazing, treated us absolutely like wonderfully. And that always puts us off on the right foot. It's like, this is going to be cool. Like, at least people are being nice to us, right? And then people start coming through the door. And honestly, man, it's like a 500 cap venue. There was over 300 people there. And for us, that means everything. That the room looked full. And the people that came to see us and support the other bands that were opening up. And it was just a fun time. My neck still hurts today, 4 days later. Right, I don't know about you, Matt, but
yep, right here, man.
And I was just talking to Brad, our bass
Is that a new
player.
thing? That's just the last 11 years that started up and
It
thing, or
never stuck around this long, and I'm just like still like stretching it out on the daily just because yeah, we're old now. But I was really happy with the show and how it went the night. I think was really, really special for us. That's just my experience. Matt might have something different, but
I mean, and everybody who was there came to sing. That was what was so cool.
yeah.
Everybody came to sing, and it's not very often, even with larger crowds, that when I'm singing, I hear a crowd singing back to me. Obviously, I got me in my ears. I got Dango hitting the drums harder than anybody behind me, and so it becomes incredibly difficult to hear anything other than what I have in my ear and on stage. And the entire set from beginning to end, I could hear everybody in the crowd singing, let alone when I wanted them to sing. Like it was awesome.
what about the new songs? Were they responsive to the new songs?
I would say so. I mean, we played 3 new songs. We played Sink or Swim, we played Young and Reckless, and we played SOS. And those songs are a blast to play live. We were excited to give it a try. And yeah, I think that the songs were received really well. Young and Reckless seems to be one of those like sing-along type songs that it's very easy to follow what we're trying to do, and so the crowd participation is pretty easy to get them on board with what we want. And when that happens, like it just makes the song and the experience a lot more fun. And we got exactly that out of the crowd. So the crowd is great for us.
This is your best album. Like
Thank you.
I mean, wouldn't you say that?
I think a lot of us lean towards that. Yeah, for sure.
I know there's nostalgia, and I know people are like, "Oh, Possibility, Promise," and like all that. I know there's this, like Truth and Sincerity. I know there's a lot of nostalgia with that stuff. I have it too. When those songs come on in my random play, you know, and I'm like, "Oh, an Amber Pacific song from back in the day." Yeah, there's nostalgia for that stuff. It takes me right back to freezing in the cold with you guys, eating choco tacos outside the recording studio. But at the end of the day,
those were great.
But at the end of the day,
I don't have those anymore.
They don't. I think they don't. I think they got canceled or something
anymore because it would show.
No, our metabolisms are not what they were. But
not metabolism, but yeah, different.
We got to this is the best album, guys, and I think this is the album that also has the most diverse sounds. You know, you guys are kind of stretching skills on this stuff. Like I'm like, oh, that's a new sound for them. Let's see where this goes. No, they got it. This works. I'm digging it. When you start talking about stretching your sounds a little bit, which is a necessity for bands, or you die, right? Like it doesn't work that way. What were those conversations like? Like, hey guys, I think the opening of this song has to have a little bit of an Irish sort of thing going to it, or this one has to have a little bit more of a different thing, or we're going to start this thing soft and we're going to go hard. What are those conversations like with the guys?
Man, we worked with a fantastic producer. His name is Sean Rogers. He's a really good friend of Dango's in Nashville there. So we recorded everything in Nashville. And
Easy for Dango.
Yeah, Sean's ideas are really what kind of helped lift the album into a place that we haven't really visited before. I think it took us out of our comfort box a little bit, but kept it in the world of Amber Pacific. So a lot of what you hear were really ideas that we tossed around with him. Matt and I were in the studio with Dango. Like a lot of the things kind of happened in real time, and some of them were ideas that like we just tried on the spot and it like worked out and it stuck. Like the Irish jig song,
you know what I'm talking about, right?
We referred to it's meant to be. We referred to that song as like the Flogging Molly song because we knew it had a natural like calling for that. Like it needed to sound like it was in a pub. And I remember Matt, Dango, and we had the headphone. We were singing like the intro to it all super loud and just having a blast, man. And it was something different. Like we've never really done that before. So we got to experience a lot of new things with this album, collaborating with different people, and it just made it all come together. And I think that's part of the reason why it sounds so different in a good way is because we had a lot of really brilliant minds on it. And for me as like a songwriter, trying to open up my perspective to allow that help, which is something I usually don't do. I don't really write well with other people. I don't really, I'm pretty protective of like the way that I want something to sound. And on this album, I really tried to let go of that as much as I possibly could. And this is what happened is like the feedback for the album's been really positive, and so that worked out really well.
What's that about, Will? Like, what's that about? That like you like, what did it take? Was it the 11 years? Like, what was it that you like broke up those rocks that were like the resistance to collaborating with others or writing song? You know what I mean? Because I don't, I know you. I don't think that you were in there being a dictator.
No.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. But I did, when I write stuff, I hear certain parts for it. I hear like string things and arrangement stuff that like I really want to be there. On this record, I had to let go of that a little bit. And part of that was just due to the situations we're all in. We do all have jobs outside of Amber Pacific, and our time is not as freely readily available as it was in the past. We can't go to a studio at 10 in the morning and leave at 1 in the morning
Eating
for
those chocolate
7 days a
tacos,
week
yeah.
Yep.
for 2 months. We can't do it.
Right.
So a product of that is you have to let go of the reins a little bit. And people like Sean, who came in and just he would run with something, and I'd be like, yeah, cool, man. Like let's see what happens. Like, go for it. If he has an idea, like, go for it. And just being able to say that really allowed it to kind of open up this landscape that we haven't tapped into yet, and it turned out great.
Does it make you excited to keep going? Does it make you excited to not go 11 years, or does that make sense? Like, does it make you excited to maybe reassess some of these songs that were left kind of on the at the demo stage or wherever they are, like and you're like, oh, we can take this. Oh man, that sounds great as a techno song. I'm kidding, but like, does that get you excited to see and discover where some of these new sounds might come from and these new collaborations might come from?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it opens the door for that. But in order for that to happen, we have to find ways to support the album that's out right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we don't get those opportunities to support this record, then we have all agreed, like, what is the point to doing another one if we're just not going to be able to go play these things live and experience the When We Were Youngs and the Warp Tours? And like, if we're not getting those things, then that also says something that we have to pay attention to. So it's a balance, push and a pull.
Does it? I mean, Houston Calls. Well, some of my good friends in Houston Calls. Love those guys. They didn't get the When We're Young, and sure, they did great when they opened for Midtown, 1 or 2 dates. But then they do back-to-back reunion shows in Jersey, I believe, and damn, those looked awesome. Damn, those looked packed. I mean, and those could have been 500 seat venues. Those could have been things like that. But then you go back to your lives and you keep going. And is this just a maturation of what your roles are as musicians? Not to say let's give it up and that's that. We listen to this, but I think the burn is different, guys. I think that you're not, great. Like Truth and Sincerity sold great. It charted. It was awesome. Virtues, the follow-up, didn't have the Young factor. I'm just gonna say it like that. Didn't have that Young factor.
It's
right
true.
there. It's just gonna
absolutely true.
And I remember running around Town Lake in Austin listening to Virtues and be like, all right, I dig these guys. It sounds good. Where's the Matt Young factor? I've hung out at Matt's house. Where's the Matt Young factor? No offense to those guys. I thought those guys were talented. It's a good album, guys. It's a really good album. It's all good. And then Matt comes back. I'm like, cool. Let's get back on even footing. And then 11 years. I don't think there's going to be no matter what this album does, guys. Y'all are musicians, man. I can't. You're talking, but I don't know if I believe you, Will. I think you're a musician.
I think Will keep writing. I mean, and I mean, he's already, even beyond the ones that he had ready to go to try the demo process, he already has another good song that he sent me the other day that we are using some new technology to
the techno song
to have Will sing, and then it goes through. I mean, who knows? We're gonna get in trouble, whatever. But like
we're gonna get in trouble.
Yeah, whatever. AI lyrics, AI art. But but Will sends it through. He sings the demo, and then he sends it off to our producer, who has enough of my vocals recorded that he then sends through a program, and it spits the song back out as if it's me singing it. So like, we already have a song that's demoed that sounds like I sang on the demo, even though I didn't. So
Sure.
I agree, Jonathan, that I bet Will can't help himself. He's going to keep writing. The question is just, can we find a way to continue to move forward in terms of recording music? Because this record required us to play shows, and we were playing those shows to pay for the record.
Sure.
We the reason we kept going back to Texas is because we were getting paid enough to cover our cost, with a possibility, just a possibility of making some money that could then go to pay for the record. So that's kind of the challenge that we're in right now, is that, like, you know, in our lives, making an investment in music becomes much different than when making the investment in music was our livelihood. And so, you know, with every show opportunity that we get moving forward, that opens the door up a little bit more for another record and another album to take place, because we're just hoping we have an opportunity as a band to sustain. Like, that would be great. Like, if we could, you know, it does, like if we do a week tour where this year, you know, we just go down all the way down to LA and San Diego and maybe Vegas and Phoenix and Denver and Utah, and come home, that would be awesome. And then, you know, we do another Northeast run, 7 dates, Southeast run, Midwest run, 7 dates, not even all together, just kind of going a week at a time. Like, we would love that. And all of those things would then allow the opportunity for us to, you know, really talk about how do we make sure 11 years doesn't go by in between records.
In Geekscape, it's like, if you're listening to this and you dig what these guys are talking about, or you dig some of the music you heard early in the episode, like, the album's called All In. It's out right now. I'd welcome all of you, because they brought back Bandcamp Fridays, and Bandcamp Fridays allows most of the proceeds, I think maybe all the proceeds, to go to the band. Pick up these 12 songs on All In on Bandcamp. Do it on a Friday so that these guys get the cash from it. I know it's just $10-12 or whatever it is, but throw it to them, because that stuff adds up. And you guys know, I just closed on that Kickstarter, just wanted $5,000 to soften the blow of having to prepay the comic book. Yeah. We spent a little bit more than $5,000. We came back with 8 guys, and y'all showed up for us, Geekscapists. So I know you guys have it in you to show up for people. Would you guys do something like that? It's something I've talked to Steve Sabosley at Punchline about a little bit, maybe for one of his solo albums or this and that. But would you guys look at possibly doing a few things? We just had Joel Reeder, who used to be on Mr. T Experience, on here. He's got the Fatal Flaw, this new band of his in Boston. He's putting out singles, and the singles are accruing. He's selling online and this and that, and doing, you know, indie music videos for each. He's putting out a song every month or so, and then by the end of the year, he's got his album, a new Fatal Flaw album. Maybe there's a new song on the album that wasn't released monthly, or maybe there's 2 songs or whatever. But I think, honestly, guys, the model has changed so much that you got to start thinking about selling the album. That means crowdfunding, putting out an EP in the form of monthly putting out singles, right? Not thinking album wise, but putting out singles, and then accruing a single or accruing an album once that's all culminated, or where you guys have it at a place that works, right? So I'm sorry to call BS on you, Will. I'm sorry. I think that these are all things worth exploring. And this is me as a fan refusing to accept what you just said, and I'm sorry.
There has to be motivation. I can go quite dormant in the songwriting world if I don't have the motivation to do it.
Because you live in Spokane, bro. You're close to the Arctic Circle. Or you live in Washington. You're so close to the Arctic Circle that you guys all hibernate. That's what it is. Move down to Southern California.
Yeah, look at the weather right now. It's like,
yeah, exactly. I think without the guys pushing me to keep writing, that record would have turned out much differently. So it just depends, you know. If I send them stuff and they're like, awesome, great, it does give me a little spark to keep going. If I send them stuff and I don't hear anything back, it's like maybe I missed on
Who's
that
not
one.
telling
And
you
then
back?
it happens, man. Not everybody's gonna love everything I
Matt,
do.
are you guilty of this?
Oh, I probably am guilty. Yeah. I mean, I want to hear Matt Young on the song.
Matt
So-
is Matt is a patient listener. He usually refrains from commenting until everybody else has chimed in with something.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Take the reins, bro. This is how you got kicked out of the band the first time. I'm kidding. I'm just starting
Oh, yeah.
rumors.
Is that what it was?
Just starting rumors.
Kicked
Just
out
kidding.
of the band.
Kicked out of the band. I don't know what happened back then. I got along with you guys so much. I loved hanging out with you guys. I love that album that came out of that. But looking up and seeing Virtues and Matt's not on it, I was like, what the heck happened?
What happened that led to that is very, very much our storyline. The reason why Matt left is what we have been battling with our entire career.
Economics.
It was the culmination of so many things going wrong for us that it literally got to a point where Matt said, I need to pivot because it just wasn't going well anymore. And it was hard. It was hard on all of us. We had been
it was rough.
that's a whole nother like hour-long episode we could talk
Sure.
about, because the I wouldn't even call it like the downfall of us, but just what led to Matt leaving is very interesting in the way that happened, and the amount of times like luck was not on our side and financially bad, band opportunities bad, like shows not being what they were supposed to be, like just a whole world of things.
You guys got to listen to this Punchline podcast that we host on our. I think we host the files. I don't know. I mean, but Punchline puts out a podcast by album, and they talk about, we got signed at the same time as Fall Out Boy to Feel Our Ramen, and we all went to Japan. But it's hard to listen to the fans start showing up, and they're only singing Fall Out Boy songs, or they're asking about Fall Out Boy, and you're the other band, and like just being to the left of the opportunity repeatedly, and this and that, and like, guys, listen to this podcast, the band called Punchline podcast that these guys have been putting out over the last 2-3 years. Guys, so many bands go through this, and it's so hard. I would never be able to do it. I think you guys have tougher metal than I do. There had to have been hard feelings, right? And you guys grow up and grow past them. You guys didn't have hard feelings when Matt was like, dude, I got to go make a living, man.
Absolutely supportive.
That's all it was. That's
were there
100%.
when you were like, you guys just went and got, I mean, it took 2 dudes to replace you, sure, but like, did you guys have hard feelings when you look up and like the lineup is just moving forward without you?
No,
I didn't. No, I mean, it was.
I had hard feelings. I'm kidding.
It was. I mean, I haven't listened to the album, but
get out of here with that. You haven't listened to Virtues.
No, you can ask my wife. Yeah.
Does it hurt?
I have listened to the songs that we played. So I have listened to the single, the one we redid, because we played that live once, and then another one we've played live, the short, fast one. And those, but I have not listened beginning to end.
We're gonna play it right here. Hold on. No, I'm kidding. But what
the truth is there really wasn't. I mean, at the time that I left, we should have toured from the release of our record in May of 2004 to Christmas of 2004, where we were only going to be in Seattle for Warped Tour and one show. And we were on the road. We're supposed to be on the road the whole time. It was supposed to be like 9 months of on the road, no breaks. And it was nowhere close to that. We had two different tours canceled at the end of Warped Tour. We made a decision with our record label at the time that got our Truth kind of taken off shelves in a figurative and literal sense. And all of a sudden, it's January of 2008. I said 2004, 2007.
Sure.
In 2008, it's January. We are no longer being pushed by our label. We don't have a single show. Warped Tour has already told us you're not coming back for year 5, you guys. Like, move on, young ones. And so we had no tours and no label support and literally nothing. And at that point, if it's January, you won't. The soonest you're going to have something booked is July, August, best case scenario. and there was nothing. And it was so disheartening, like to release Truth, be Billboard 100, and 9 months later, your band is worse off than before you released that record was just
It was the Choco Tacos.
bad. And so I appreciate the guys understanding. It wasn't like it was a quick decision. It actually came in the moment where I went to the Fifth Avenue Theater up here, which is like the traveling New York theater here. And I watched Jersey Boys. And Jersey Boys was the popular Tony Award-winning musical at the time, obviously about Frankie Valli. But it's about all the guys in the band. And I'm sitting there watching this and I'm like, uh-oh. And it told the story of all the different guys. They reach all the level of fame that they sought and that they wanted. And yet in the end, none of them were happy. And none of them got what they really wanted. They got fame, and every one of them had, the results were like pitfalls of what came of that. And so here we are, and we're literally at the bottom, and we're further away from fame. And after watching that, I go, do I even want that? Like, seriously, like, even if we try again, we get back to the grind for another year or two, do I want that? And
just to get back to where you thought you should have been.
And at the time I said no. I want to settle down. You know, it sounds, I'm like, you know what? I'm down for a 9 to 5. I'm down to be home for the holidays. I'm down to go on family vacations again, because we all missed every summer family vacation for 4 years. Or, you know, and that was kind of the driving force, and it had nothing to do with anybody in the band or any of Will.
Who stinks the worst in the van? Like, but honestly, like, who had the worst BO? I'm kidding.
All of us. There wasn't enough gold on. There wasn't enough showers. Yeah.
I remember working with Helpless with you guys. I remember working with them with Mike Park, and by the time that All Time Low EP came out, I remember them asking, like, do I want to pitch on the video? And it just didn't connect with me. The music, I don't think, connected with me anymore. And I know All Time Low became a Stratospheric, and that was their band, Helpless's band, and they really chucked the football up the field for those guys. But I didn't, no offense to All Time Low fans, like, I'm wrong commercially, I'm wrong, but it did connect with me. I think I was aging out of that music, and and I didn't take it personally with you guys and be like, oh, it should be Amber Pacific, this and that. But it didn't connect with me. So I didn't pitch on that, on the first video. You know, it's funny. One of my friends is actually the woman in that video now. Met her years later working at Warner Brothers. She was one of our actresses. And but you know, when you watch that and you watch the band that came on the label after, you know, when you watch those opportunities go the other way, I'm sorry, like, how do you not take it personally? And I'm so sorry, but, and I love all those guys. I love Evan I love the guys at Hopeless. I love those guys, but damn the business. Like, honestly, damn the business, man. Like,
the business. Oof.
I'm surprised you guys came back after 11 years and made an album. And Geekscape is reward these boys for doing this. Go out and just download the album, because like I put out an indie comic. I'm going to put out another indie comic. We're going to keep putting out indie comics and this and that. Maybe I never get to write for Marvel or DC or this stuff, but like, it's all good. Like, we're trying to make indie films, and I'm psychotic like that. The indie life is what this show is about. It's who we talk to. We talk to indie musicians. We talk to voice actors. We talk to actors. We talk to writers. We talk to all this. Like, this is a blood sport. And you know what I thought was awesome, in all honesty, when I have this thing on my headphones, is when The Good Life came on. Like, I was like, oh wait, this isn't a new song. I know this song. Geekscape is track. What track is it? Track on this one, track 7 on this 12 album track, is a remake of an old of a song. This is one of the Virtue songs.
Yeah,
it is.
It's one of the songs on the album that they made without Matt. And suddenly Matt's voice is piping the lyrics into my ears. It felt good. Well, was it cathartic to do this song, Matt? Because when it popped in my ears, I knew the song from Virtues, the album you're not on. And I'm like, whoa, I like this. This is cool.
I just love the song. I love the messaging of it. And I felt like that was a song that was very representative of where we are now, just as much as it was when Will originally wrote it, and maybe even more so, where the themes of it are all about recognizing that normal life is the good life. And, so when I sang it again, that was singing it from a place of recognizing I'm in a studio and singing a song, but also recognizing like, my normal self, that is, who I am 98% of the time, is not Matt from Amber Pacific, but it's the husband and the dad and the teacher. Then, it's pretty good. Life is pretty good. And so, it was cool that we had an opportunity to sing that song. And part of the hope is that if that song's received well, maybe there might be some more Virtues, Matt's version moving forward in the future, because those are,
we got to get him to, it's the only way he's going to listen to the album, guys.
Yeah,
that's probably true.
It's the only way he's going to listen to the album. It is a great, it's a really good album, guys. This is the band though. These two guys plus Dango. Who are the other two dudes on this? I miss Greg. I love Greg, my guy Greg from Truth and Sincerity. But what's this band? Who are these other two guys you guys are doing the shows with and being on this album with?
It's basically like down back to original people. Now our bass player is Brad, he was there the entire time for the band. He was the guy behind the curtains. He was tour manager, merch guy, guitar tech, drum tech, driving. I mean, like,
yeah,
the one he without him would not work. Like, we could not make it work. He did so much, and so it's cool now that he's able to be a part of it on stage, because he had spent so much time watching from behind the stage, and we are like thrilled that he is able to share that with us now, like share those moments with the crowds and stuff, like in a different way. He was always behind me, usually back here somewhere, and now he's like up front with us, and that's been really cool. And then Justin, our other guitar player, and he was the original guitar player in our band.
Possibility.
Did the Possibility with us, like did the rough, hard touring, not in a bus, not playing sold out shows, like dive bars in Palm Springs in front of 5 people, right? Like very hard stuff. And he did all of that. And then he felt the calling to do something else with his life. And that is when the band kind of took off and we started getting to experience the fun part of Amber Pacific. And so to have him back has been really great. We've always loved Justin, and we're just all able to make it work now as that group. And we talk about it all the time. Like, that's where the fun is for us, is just being together, sharing our lives together in these moments that we don't have these experiences with anybody else in our lives. So when we get together, it's always a great time. Like we always talk about, we laugh harder with you other than we do anywhere else.
Would you guys kick Justin out of the band to see if you guys take off again?
Yes. Sorry.
You guys.
Right now, Justin has no show, so that wouldn't change anything for him. So
is that what's missing, Matt? Like, we just need to get Justin out.
Well, Jonathan's joking,
take off again.
And he let it earlier, and it's like, okay, well, maybe I need to leave the band again, and we'll come back and we'll revisit 1 year later, and we'll get all the reunion.
Jonathan is
Justin wants to do an LA show.
Yeah.
Justin's gonna do an LA show just to kick my ass.
Yep.
I'm gonna tell him about
House of Blues, LA, Chain Reaction.
Oh man, and you guys played that show in Orange County. I think it was a Hawthorne Heights show. You guys played a show in Orange County, and I couldn't make it. I think because Ophelia was being born. I think my daughter was being born or something crazy last summer. Where I was like, "Damn it!"
Yeah, the Garden Amphitheater.
That Garden Grove Amphitheater had some really good shows, guys. Whoever books that place.
Cool. That's a cool venue. You could never have anything like that up in Washington, but man, it works down there.
It's a cool venue, and whoever's booking over there has their finger on the pulse, because they always have great shows. And sometimes it's worth leaving LA, going down to Orange County, and seeing what they had in that Garden Grove Amphitheater.
It was cool, and it was one of those places again that like treated us really great, and we'd love to go back there again. That was awesome.
Okay, we got to put this thing together. All right, we got to put this thing together. It starts with the album though. Geekscape it's all in. That's the name of the album. Pick up some of the other, if you want to hear what we've been talking about, if you want to freshen up on their other albums, if you want to listen to Virtues before it's redone, like Taylor Swift style by Matt over here. If you want to hear all this stuff, again, I'm imploring you to go to Bandcamp on Friday and get this stuff, especially this new album, All In. They also have a website. You can also go to amberpacific.com and check out everything else that they got going on there. Refamiliarize yourself. Right now, they do not have a tour, but I'm putting it out. Let's put the energies out there. Let's have an MXPX or another Nest, or let's have another band who gets who gets kind of the tick, and they're like, they come out of this, when we were young, and it's like, oh, we got to do more shows. Who can we take out? And this band right here is waiting to go.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
I think that's what we got to do. But Geekscape is downloading the album is kind of where it starts. I think you guys have this thing on vinyl as well, right?
It's going to be on vinyl.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the label just announced the pre-order for it.
Perfect. We'll share that on our socials, guys. But Will, Matt, like, this is awesome hanging out with you. Sorry, I was being a little jocular there for Justin, but sacrifices must be made. No, I'm kidding.
Yes, that'll be the next. We'll have a ritual.
But if the next album comes out, the name is "Sacrifices Must Be Made." Like, I'm not. That's not cool.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
We're not. Are we really all in if we haven't had any sacrifice? I don't know.
No,
it's true.
We
do talk about maybe having Matt leave and then coming back, because that seems to work for people. And
you got to re-record the album again with his vocals. I know you're going to use AI, but like, don't do that. No,
AI vocals, AI lyrics, AI art. We're all about
the whole AI thing. You guys are going to record it properly. It was just a demo. It was just a show.
We sure will. Even though, man, we have received some heat for the AI usage.
Really?
It is actually a great inspiration for our next T-shirt. We have it on deck, ready to go, and it's going to be super, super great.
I don't use it in my creative process because I am against it. That being said, you guys are using it as a little bit of a proof of concept within the band. It's not like you guys sent it out to make money off of or to pass as real. I've got friends who are like, dude, what did you think of my cartoon? And it's AI. And I'm like, bro, I didn't even hit play. What did you think of my short film? And it's like, you got to know me better than that, man. Like, I'm not hitting play on that. I'm not into that. That stuff steals jobs. As somebody in the entertainment industry, I'm not getting behind that at all. Yeah. And I don't even have the wherewithal to tell my friends, like to lecture them. I'm not going to lecture them. I'm just like, dude, I'm not pressing play on that. Cool. I read your message. Will not press play on that. But you guys are using it as a proof of concept within the band. I think you get leeway on that. You will not. That's not your final product. That's not even a partial product. You'll never release that stuff.
It gives me something to practice. That's in. And Will writes songs, man. He writes them high. So like, step one is realizing it's too high, and then we got to lower it down.
This little demo that I sent, AI didn't like it so much when it came back because it's out of Matt's register. So it's like
he doesn't sing that high.
Yeah, it's like I cannot compute.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember that Honest Don's band in like the late 90s called Limp?
No.
They were a band on Honest Don's. Remember Honest Don's? It was like the Fat Records side project. I think it was just Fat Mike's. They were both his label, but like we had a band in the college radio station called, and I was like, you guys should play this one song. And he goes, the week after we recorded that song, my register changed. He goes, can't even play it live. And I was like, oh, yeah, that happens, I guess. I wouldn't know that because I'm not a singer, but oops.
Yeah, well,
crazy.
One of our top 5 songs on Spotify, our remake of Video Killed the Radio Star for Punk Goes 80s. People go, can you play that? Can you sing that song? Can you play it? And I'm looking at him like, no, I can't. I was a 19-year-old kid, and we went in there and we did something that couldn't do that.
Be recreated.
Yeah.
Not happening. No, don't ask.
Don't you want to hear and also, don't you want to hear our songs? That's a little
Yeah,
offensive.
right?
That's a
Like,
little offensive. Don't you want to hear our songs?
Song that you guys didn't write, but you did once for something else. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not the freaking Buggles. Go watch the Buggles play. You know what? When the Buggles come to town, you can ask them to do some of our songs. Then,
there you
all right,
go. Yeah,
get out of here. It's
exactly.
the Buggles, right? Were the Buggles that band?
I think it is. Yes,
It's the Buggles.
I think so.
All right, Geekscapists, you have your mission. Truth and the new album, not Truth and Sincerity. You can pick that one up, but definitely pick up All In. Definitely pick up All In. AmberPacific.com. Check these guys out. Follow them on all the socials. You can follow Geekscape on the socials too, but it's not as exciting. You've been there. You listen to me hopefully every week. Will, Matt, thanks for being on this, dude.
Thank you for having us, man. It was good talking with you and catching up for sure.
Dango missed a real one.
Absolutely.
Where's the best place for people to follow you guys?
Sacrifice. We need one more.
Love you guys. Can't wait to see you guys in LA.
That's the goal. We
Soon.
got to make it happen.
We will come
We
down.
don't say no. Let's be clear to everybody. We don't say no. We just need to get an offer to go play.
Let's do it. It's gonna happen. We're putting it out there. It's gonna happen. All right.
Yeah.
Till then, I'll be playing this thing on repeat.
You mentioned
It's
best
great.
place to follow us. It's probably our Facebook page or our Instagram. Those seems to be the two that we update the most. So either one of
Awesome.
those.
There you go,
Yep.
Geekscapists. You got your mission. You could. I'll be talking to you guys next week. I've got a couple cool people wanting to come on the show, but I made them all wait because my boys needed some promotion on this All In album, and I wanted to be their guy. I love it. I love this album, guys. I'll talk to you guys on the next Geekscape. Don't hate, create. All right.
Sounds good, man. Thank you.
Peace, everybody.
Bye.
See ya.